All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are going deep on something that is super practical, I think, for pretty much anyone who's involved in education or really just working with kids in any capacity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, we're going to be exploring what are known as brief, school-based positive psychological interventions.
Brief school-based what now?
It's a mouthful, right? BPPIs.
BPPIs, much.
PPIs. And
Mhm.
our main guide for this deep dive is going to be this really comprehensive review article by Shankland and Rossett. It came out in 2017. And they really kind of did a sweeping overview of all this research on BPPIs.
So, in a nutshell, what are BPPIs all about?
Well, think about it this way. If you're in the field of education and you're really passionate about supporting student well-being, right,
Absolutely.
it can be really easy to get bogged down, I think, by the sheer amount of information that's out there, all the different programs, approaches, strategies, where do you even start?
It can definitely feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And so what I love about this deep dive in this review article is that it really helps us cut through the noise and gives us these super actionable, research-backed strategies.
Okay, so it's like a shortcut to the good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the best part is a lot of these strategies are surprisingly easy to implement. You don't need like a ton of training. You don't need a whole bunch of fancy resources. It's stuff that teachers and educators can start using right away.
I like the sound of that already. Practical and accessible.
Yeah. So I'm excited to dive in. Are you ready to explore the world of BPPIs?
I am absolutely ready. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So to give us a bit of a framework, right? Think of it this way. We have these big, comprehensive, positive psychology programs,
Right.
which definitely have their place. But what this review article really zooms in on is the power of these little, I almost want to say micro-interventions, these BPPIs. They're like little nudges, intentional shifts in focus that can collectively foster a more positive learning environment and support all these different crucial aspects of student development.
I'm picturing like little seeds of positivity that can grow into something bigger.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
a great analogy. So with that said, why don't we start with one of the areas that Shanklin and Rossett highlight in their review,
Yeah.
and that's mindfulness.
Okay, mindfulness. We hear that word everywhere these days. But what does it actually look like in a school setting?
Yeah, it's definitely become a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it?
It has.
So according to Shanklin and Rossett, the core idea of mindfulness is really about intentionally paying attention to the present moment and doing so without judgment.
Okay, so it's about being present and not getting caught up in, you know, judging ourselves or our thoughts or feelings.
Exactly. It's not necessarily about achieving this like perfectly calm, Zen-like state, although that can be a nice byproduct.
Right.
It's more about just noticing what's happening,
Hmm.
both internally and externally, and just observing those thoughts and feelings as they come and go.
So it's like instead of getting swept away by the current of our thoughts and feelings, we're stepping back and observing them as they flow by.
I like that. Yeah, becoming the observer. And the article points out that while mindfulness has its origins in, ancient Buddhist practices, the way it's being used in schools these days has become increasingly secularized.
Right. So it's not about any particular religious doctrine. It's more about the practice itself and the benefits it can offer.
Exactly. And while those traditional, full-blown mindfulness programs can be quite involved, even these really brief kind of like, I don't know, tasters, as the researchers call them.
Tasters, I like that. Bite-sized mindfulness.
Yeah, bite-sized mindfulness. They can actually have a really significant impact.
Interesting. So give us an example. What might one of these bite-sized mindfulness practices look like in a classroom?
Okay, so one that they highlight that I think is so cool and so simple is called the mindful bell exercise.
Mindful bell. Okay.
So it's literally as straightforward as it sounds. You ring a bell, it could be a chime or a singing bowl or whatever you have on hand.
Right.
And the students simply focus all of their attention on the sound until it completely fades away.
Okay. Sounds simple enough, but what's the point of that?
Well, it's really about training that muscle of attention because inevitably, right, their minds are going to wander,
Oh, for sure. Especially with kids.
especially with kids. Exactly. And so when they notice their mind has wandered off, they just gently guide their attention back to the sound.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like a mini workout for their attention span.
Exactly. And what's so cool is the review mentions that this simple exercise can actually quiet a classroom down.
Really? Just from listening to a bell?
Yeah, sometimes within like a week of consistent practice. And it can even be combined with what they call mindfulness bodies, which is essentially the students sitting in this like silent, upright posture.
Interesting. So it's almost like a physical embodiment of mindfulness as well.
Yeah, exactly. And get this, they've even used it in schools with students who have ADHD.
Wow. Okay. So for kids who might really struggle with attention and focus, this could be a really valuable tool.
Yeah, and even students with, learning disabilities or behavioral challenges.
Mhm. That's pretty remarkable that something so simple can have such a profound effect.
It is. And I think beyond just quieting the room down, right? What this exercise is subtly doing is it's training their attentional muscles. So it's almost like a mental reset button.
I like that. A mental reset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might actually help them be able to focus better on tasks, later on in the day.
Yeah. It's like giving their brains a little break and then helping them come back refreshed and ready to learn.
Exactly. So that's the mindful bell exercise.
I love that one.
Oh.
What other bite-sized mindfulness practices do they talk about?
Well, another one that's often mentioned is the brief body scan, which is sometimes referred to as FOBOC.
FOBOC. Okay, now you're just making up words.
It sounds made up, but it's real. It stands for feet on floor, bum on chair.
Feet on floor, bum on chair. Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah. So this one is a short, kind of guided practice where students typically close their eyes and they systematically bring their attention to different sensations in their body.
Okay, like what kind of sensation?
It often starts with, the feeling of their feet on the floor. Then they might notice the feeling of their bum on the chair. And then they kind of slowly move their attention up through their body.
So it's like a gradual scan of their physical sensations.
Exactly. And the goal, again, is to kind of anchor their awareness in the present moment, but this time through those physical sensations.
Interesting. And this is usually a pretty short practice, right? You said brief.
Yeah, I think it's typically like around 8 minutes or so, something like that.
Okay, so definitely doable even within a busy classroom schedule. And this FOFBOC thing, it's part of a larger mindfulness program, right? You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, so it's often used within the context of what's called the AGB program,
ABI program. Okay,
which is a mindfulness program that's specifically designed for young people.
got it. And has there been research done on this ABI program? Like, does it actually work?
Yeah, there's actually been some promising research. So Kuiken and colleagues, they did some studies on the DUABI program, and they found that it can lead to like reductions in things like depression and stress in students.
Okay, that's great. So it's not just about feeling calm in the moment. It can actually have a lasting impact on their mental health.
Yeah, and it can also contribute to like an increase in their sense of well-being overall.
That's fantastic. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
It reduces the negative and increases the positive.
Yeah, I like that. And the article even mentions that there are all these like online resources and books that are readily available for teachers, if they want some practical guidance on how to actually lead these brief body scan exercises.
So it's not just like, here's the idea, good luck figuring it out. There's actual support out there.
Exactly, which makes it that much more accessible for busy educators. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so another quick mindfulness technique that teachers could use is mindful breathing, which is often taught using what they call the 7-Eleven technique.
7-Eleven. Okay. Like the convenience store.
Yeah, no, it's a weird name, but it's easy to remember. Basically, what students do is they slowly inhale, and as they inhale, they count silently to 7.
Okay.
And then as they slowly exhale, they count to 11.
Got it. In for 7, out for 11.
Yeah. And the primary focus is simply on the sensation of the breath entering and leaving the body.
So it's similar to the body scan in that it's about bringing awareness to a physical sensation.
Exactly. And again, it's another way to kind of ground their awareness in the present moment.
And what about the benefits? Are they similar to the body scan as well?
Yeah, so that same research by Kuiken that looked at the BIB program, it found that this mindful breathing practice, when it's implemented as part of that program, it was also associated with those same reductions in depressive symptoms, reductions in stress, and an increase in overall well-being.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. 2 different mindfulness practices, both showing positive results.
Yeah, and both of them super easy to implement in the classroom.
Absolutely. Okay, now I'm curious about that last mindfulness BKPI you mentioned, the caring mindfulness one.
Yes. This one is interesting because it kind of highlights a potential gap that some people have pointed out with those more traditional mindfulness practices.
A gap? What kind of gap?
Well, while mindfulness can be super beneficial for, training attention and helping us regulate our emotions, it doesn't always explicitly cultivate those feelings of compassion and kindness toward others.
Ah, I see. So it's more about individual focus.
Right. And so curing mindfulness is designed to address that. It kind of draws inspiration from something called cognitive behavioral compassion training for children, or CBCTC.
CBCTC. Okay, got it. So how does a caring mindfulness exercise typically work?
Well, students might start by focusing on their own innate wish to be happy,
Okay,
and free from suffering.
makes sense.
And then they mindfully extend that same wish to other children, to their classmates.
So it's about cultivating empathy and recognizing that everyone wants to be happy and free from suffering.
Exactly. And then the final step often involves reflecting on and committing to actions, even small ones, that could contribute to the happiness and well-being of others.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just about feeling compassion, it's about putting it into action.
Exactly. And research has shown that these types of compassion-focused practices really do foster feelings of compassion.
And compassion, of course, is linked to overall well-being.
Exactly.
So it seems like this caring mindfulness approach could be a really valuable addition to those more traditional mindfulness programs.
Yeah, I think so too. It really actively cultivates those other focused mindsets, which I think are so important, especially in school setting.
Absolutely.
So when we look at mindfulness BPPIs as a whole, right, in the context of schools, what kind of impact can they realistically have on students?
Well, based on the research that Shankland and Rossett reviewed, it seems like they can have a pretty impressive range of benefits.
Yeah, they can really impact like core cognitive skills,
Right. Things like attention,
concentration,
self-regulation.
that ability to manage your emotions and your behavior.
Exactly. And interestingly, they can also have a positive effect on relationships.
Yeah, and that's probably because of those improvements in emotional regulation and increased empathy.
It makes sense, yeah. If you're better able to understand and manage your own emotions, you're probably going to be better at navigating relationships too.
Exactly.
And there's even some cool research on the brain, right? Showing how mindfulness can actually change the brain.
Yeah, the neuroscience research is super fascinating. So it indicates that regular mindfulness practice can lead to actual changes in the structure and function of the brain.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Like literally rewiring the brain for the better.
Yeah, and specifically in areas that are involved in attention
Okay.
and the integration of emotions.
So the very things that we're trying to cultivate with these mindfulness practices.
Exactly. And so those neural changes, they can then translate into these tangible academic and social emotional advantages for students.
So it's not just a feel-good thing, it's actually having a measurable impact on their brains and their behavior.
Exactly. And there's this big meta-analysis mentioned in the article that was done by Waters and colleagues.
Mm.
And they found that overall, mindfulness interventions in schools tend to have positive effects on things like student well-being, emotion regulation, and social competence.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. And what was particularly encouraging was that the interventions that were led directly by teachers, they seemed to have more consistently positive effects.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about bringing in some outside expert to teach mindfulness, it's about empowering teachers to do it themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the relationship between the teacher and the students, I think, plays a really important role there.
Absolutely.
And then the research also suggested that, the more frequently students engage in these practices, the more significant the well-being benefits tended to be.
Makes sense. It's like anything else, right? The more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah. And this was especially true for older students, they found.
Interesting. So maybe as kids get older and the pressures of school increase, those mindfulness practices become even more valuable.
Yeah, it's possible. And then this is a really crucial point. We talked about how mindfulness can help with emotion regulation.
Right.
Well, the development of emotion regulation skills has actually been linked to academic achievement.
Really? So it's not just about their mental health. It can actually impact their grades.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that this link was found even when they controlled for things like IQ.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just that smarter kids are better at regulating their emotions and therefore do better in school. There's something unique about emotion regulation itself that contributes to academic success.
Exactly. So that's a pretty compelling case for why mindfulness practices might be worth incorporating into the school day, I think.
I agree. Lots of benefits and very few downsides.
Exactly. So now that we've explored the world of mindfulness BPPIs, why don't we shift gears a little bit and delve into another really key area of positive psychology, character strengths.
Okay, character strengths. Now we're talking.
Yeah, this is one of those really central concepts in positive psychology. And the basic idea is that everyone has these inherent character strengths.
So it's like a set of positive qualities that we each possess.
Yeah. And Shankland and Rossett define them as these intrinsically valued ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving that contribute to our overall well-being,
Okay.
help us build positive relationships, and also support us in achieving our goals.
So they're kind of like our inner assets, the positive traits that help us thrive in life.
Exactly. And the real focus here is on identifying those strengths that we already possess
Okay.
and then intentionally using them in new and different ways.
So it's not about trying to fix what's wrong with us. It's about building on what's right.
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial distinction. It's so much more motivating and empowering to start from a place of strength.
Absolutely. And it makes sense intuitively. If you focus on what you're good at, you're more likely to feel confident and successful.
Exactly. And the research really backs that up. So they've found that when individuals operate from a place of strength, their learning and their performance tend to improve.
So they learn more efficiently, perform better, and feel more motivated,
Yeah. And they also tend to experience greater feelings of mastery and competence.
which then boosts their self-efficacy, right? Their
Well-
belief in their own ability to succeed.
Exactly. It's like a positive feedback loop. And the article also talks about how focusing on our strength can help us meet those fundamental psychological needs.
Oh, yeah, those are important. Remind me what they are again.
So the three core needs are autonomy,
Okay, autonomy, so that sense of control over our own lives.
Yeah. and then competence.
Competence, feeling like we're good at things, that we can do things effectively.
Exactly. And then relatedness.
Relatedness, feeling connected to others, feeling a sense of belonging.
Yeah. And all of those contribute to a more positive and engaging classroom environment, right?
Absolutely. When students feel those needs are met, they're more likely to be motivated, engaged, and well-behaved.
Exactly. So with that in mind, what are some concrete examples of BPPIs focused on character strength that teachers can actually use in their classrooms?
All right, let's get to the practical stuff.
Yeah, so one of the fundamental BPPIs in this area is simply called identifying strengths.
Identifying strengths. Okay.
And a teacher might start this by asking students to think about someone they really admire.
Okay. Could be anyone, right?
Yeah, it could be a historical figure, it could be a family member, it could be a fictional character.
Right.
And then they have the students list the specific reasons why they admire that person.
Interesting. So they're kind of indirectly identifying strengths by looking at the qualities they admire in others.
Yeah, and those reasons often turn out to be reflections of underlying character strengths.
Okay, I see. And then what does the teacher do with that information?
Well, they might facilitate a discussion, listing these identified strengths on the board,
Okay.
and then they might even introduce some of those more formal classification systems of strengths.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those, like the VIA character strengths.
Exactly. So the VIA framework, it categorizes like 24 universal strengths.
Right.
And then there's another popular one called KPP's Realize 2, which is often used in educational settings.
Okay, so those frameworks give them a common language to talk about these positive qualities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just like, oh, I admire that person because they're brave. It's like, okay, bravery is a character strength, and here's how it's defined. And here are some other examples of bravery.
Right, so it gives it more depth and structure.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the article makes a really important point, which is that simply identifying strengths, it's not a magic bullet for lasting well-being.
Right, it's not enough to just know what your strengths are. You have to actually use them.
Yeah, it's the active effort and the consistent application of those strengths in different contexts that really makes a difference.
So identifying strengths is like step one.
Yeah, it's the starting point.
Okay, so what's a good follow-up BPP pie? What can teachers do to help students actually use their strengths?
Well, one that they mention is called Strengths 360 Degrees.
Strengths 360 degrees.
Okay, so for this activity, students are given a list of character strengths,
Okay.
maybe from the VIA framework or Realize 2, and then they reach out to about 5 people from different areas of their lives.
Oh, interesting. So they get feedback from multiple perspectives.
Yeah, so maybe a teacher, a friend, a family member, a coach,
Right.
and they ask those people to identify which of those strengths they see in the student.
Okay, so it's like getting a 360-degree view of your strengths.
Yeah, exactly. And it can give students this more well-rounded perspective on how their strengths are perceived by others.
That's a cool idea. It could be really eye-opening for some students.
Yeah. But Shanklin and Rossett, they wisely caution against what's known as self-affirming biases.
Oh, yeah. That's where we tend to focus on information that confirms our existing beliefs about ourselves.
Exactly. So students might selectively focus only on that positive feedback that aligns with their own self-perception.
Right, so they might ignore the feedback that doesn't fit their own narrative.
Yeah. And so They suggest that teachers encourage students to really thoughtfully consider all the strengths that other people identify, even if they hadn't recognized them in themselves.
That's a good point. It's important to be open to new information about ourselves.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember that while research shows that strength-based programs can have positive effects on things like academic expectations and self-efficacy, simply identifying strengths in this way, it doesn't necessarily have a huge long-term impact compared to actually using those strengths.
Right. So it's a valuable exercise, but it's not the end goal.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's a good BPPI for helping students put those strengths into action?
Well, one that they mentioned is called cultivating strengths.
Cultivating strengths, all right.
So in this BPPI, students are asked to choose one of their top identified strengths. And then they work together in pairs. And they brainstorm creative and practical ways that they can intentionally use that strength in their daily activities, like within the classroom.
Okay, so they're really thinking about how to apply that strength in a specific context.
Yeah, exactly. And the teacher can play a role here, providing some examples, kind of getting their thinking started.
Okay, so the teacher is kind of like a strengths coach.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And another approach that the article mentions is for the teacher to specifically suggest that students focus on cultivating strengths that research has linked to positive outcomes.
Oh, interesting. Like which strengths?
So strengths like hope, curiosity, perseverance, and temperance, those have all been shown to be really beneficial.
Okay, so they're targeting strengths that are likely to have the biggest impact on well-being.
Yeah, and the article even talks about like adapting some suggestions from Jonathan Haidt's work on how to develop specific character strengths.
Oh, cool. So they're drawing on some real experts in the field.
Exactly. And I think having students work in pairs on this is really valuable.
Yeah, I agree. It encourages collaboration, and it can also help to prevent social comparison.
Exactly. Because if everyone's focusing on a different strength, it's less likely that they'll start comparing themselves to each other.
Right, it's not a competition. It's about everyone discovering and nurturing their own unique strengths.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about that last strength-based BPPI you mentioned, the secret strength spotting one?
Yes. This one is fun. So for this BPPI, each student is secretly paired with another student in the class.
Ooh, I like that. A little mystery.
Yeah. And then for a certain period, like maybe a week, their task is to observe their secret partner
Okay.
and specifically note down instances where they see that partner demonstrating different character strengths.
So they're becoming strength detectives.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, the partners reveal their identities and they share the strengths-based observations they've made about each other.
That's such a cool idea. It's like a positive gossip game.
I know, right? And it really helps to raise awareness of those positive qualities that other people have.
Yeah, it's a great way to shift our focus from the negative to the positive.
Exactly. And it can also have a positive effect on the classroom climate overall.
Right, because if you're constantly looking for the good in others, it's going to create a more positive and supportive environment.
Exactly. And the article also mentions this related activity called the sum of our strengths.
Okay, what's that one about?
So for that one, the class as a whole, they kind of identify their most prominent strengths as a group. Maybe they take a survey like the VIA, and then they aggregate the data.
Okay.
And then they brainstorm ways that they can use those collective strengths to benefit the classroom community as a whole.
So it's like identifying their superpowers as a class and then figuring out how to use them for good.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it really emphasizes how individual strengths can complement one another.
It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've explored strengths, why don't we transition to another really key area of positive psychology, and that's gratitude.
Gratitude. All right, let's talk about it.
So we often hear about all these benefits of gratitude, right?
Yeah, it seems to be everywhere these days. Gratitude journals, gratitude apps. What does the research in a school context tell us about gratitude?
Well, according to the research that Shanklin and Rossett reviewed, gratitude in a school setting can be understood as this feeling of thankfulness and appreciation in response to receiving a gift.
Okay, that makes sense. But a gift can be more than just a physical object,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. It could be something tangible, like, someone helping you with something, or it could be something more intangible, like a kind word or just having a positive experience.
Right, so it's about appreciating all the good things in our lives, big and small.
Exactly. And researchers often distinguish between two main types of gratitude.
Two types. Okay.
So there's gratitude that's directed toward a specific benefactor.
So, like, I'm grateful to my teacher for helping me with my homework.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a more general sense of gratitude
Yeah.
that something positive exists or has happened.
Okay, so that's more like, I'm grateful that the sun is shining today.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what are the benefits of cultivating gratitude in school?
Well, it seems like they're pretty significant. So gratitude has been linked to higher levels of life satisfaction,
Okay,
increased optimism, greater vitality.
so all those good, positive feelings.
Yeah. And then also lower levels of negative emotions like depression and envy.
Interesting. So it seems like gratitude can kind of boost the good and reduce the bad.
Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1 deal. And what's really cool is that the deliberate practice of gratitude, it's been shown to have benefits for both individuals and groups.
Oh, that's interesting. So it can benefit not just the student who's practicing gratitude, but also the classroom community as a whole.
Yeah, and even for things like academic outcomes. So students who practice gratitude, they tend to be more satisfied with school, and they might even do better academically.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So gratitude can actually impact grades.
Yeah, it seems like it can, especially for students who maybe tend to experience lower levels of positive emotions in general.
Okay, so for those kids who might be struggling a bit, gratitude could be a real game changer.
Yeah, I think so.
And you mentioned something about a theory of how gratitude works in relationships.
Yeah, so the article talks about this theory called the find, remind, and bind theory.
Find, remind, and bind. That's quite a mouthful.
It is. And it basically suggests that gratitude plays a really important role in social bonding and in maintaining positive relationships.
Okay, so how does it work? What does find, remind, and bind actually mean?
Well, the theory proposes that gratitude helps us find new potential relationships by making us more attuned to those acts of kindness from others.
Okay, so we're more likely to notice when someone is being kind to us.
Yeah. And then it reminds us of the value of our existing relationships.
So it helps us appreciate the people we already have in our lives.
Exactly. And then it binds us closer to others through those reciprocal feelings of appreciation.
So when we express gratitude to someone, it strengthens the bond between us.
Yeah. And that's so crucial, especially for young people, right?
Absolutely. Strong social connections are so important for their well-being and their success in school.
Exactly.
And gratitude can also help us reframe our focus, can it? Like, instead of dwelling on what we don't have, we can focus on what we do have.
Yeah, I think that's a really key aspect of gratitude. So
Right.
engaging in practices like, actively counting your blessings, it helps us shift our attention away from what we might feel we're lacking
Right.
and towards the things we actually have and should be grateful for.
And that can be a powerful antidote to that negativity bias we all have.
Exactly. Because our brains are naturally wired to pay more attention to negative things.
It's like a survival mechanism, right? We're always scanning for threats.
Yeah. But gratitude helps us consciously counteract that. It's like a mental reset button.
I love that. A mental reset for positivity.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some practical ways that teachers can cultivate gratitude in their classrooms? Give us some examples of BPPIs in action.
Okay, so one of the most well-known and straightforward methods is the gratitude journal.
The classic gratitude journal.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. It works. So teachers can simply encourage students to take a few moments, maybe at the beginning or end of class, to just jot down a few things they're grateful for.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy, right? Just a quick list of things they appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. And the research shows that even doing that, like regularly for a couple of weeks, can lead to these significant increases in students' optimism.